Welcome everyone. My name is Sean, and today I want to talk about this prolific serial killer in the city of Pittsburgh that doesn't exactly match the archetype of a serial killer that you know, but she was just convicted of murdering 17 people as a nurse that was meant to be in the care of these people, and I want to discuss it. I want to talk about it. There's no broader policy implication like most of the stories that I cover, but this one really leapt out to me. It's insanely creepy, and I thought you guys might find it a bit interesting. Now, we're going to get into this, but before we do, I want to thank everybody who signed up over on actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money, okay?
Why did you hurt those people?
Have any remorse?
Are you as evil as they say you are? Why them? They were helpless.
So first of all, I do like and enjoy the question to this nurse right here, which was, are you as evil as they say you are? Which, you know, I guess is a sensible question, because this woman gave lethal doses of insulin, according to the reports, to around 17 patients. Now, it looks like she was only convicted in this particular set of cases of 3 of those deaths, but yeah, it's looking really bad for this woman, and apparently there were additional attempts, and I just want to give you some of the information associated with this so you can understand how bad and honestly how terrifying this actually is.
Katie Kay was there today as the former nurse accused of killing at least 3 patients in her care faced a judge. Heather Pressdee pleaded guilty to harming and killing the patients she was supposed to be caring for.
Now she'll spend the rest of her life behind bars.
So like I said, this woman pled guilty to the 3 murders right here, but overall in total we have 17 victims over the course of 5 facilities over the course of 4 counties between the years of 2020 and 2023. So this woman racked up a body count of 17 over just 3 years.
Accused of at least 3 homicides and multiple attempted homicides, Heather Pressdee listened to each and every one of her alleged victims' families, describing what she allegedly took from them. Nearly every one of these individuals describing Heather Pressdee, one-time nurse, as nothing short of evil. The Butler County courtroom of Judge Joseph Kubit was packed with people filled with both rage and emotion.
And one of the things that really bothers me about this is, like in the case that they just highlighted right here,
She's pure evil.
Melinda Brown is the sister of Nick Simbel. 41-year-old Heather Pressdee pleaded guilty to killing Simbel in Sunnyview Nursing Home in Butler. Pressdee allegedly telling a nurse that some patients, like Simbel, needed to die.
There's no justice for this. We'll get justice when she meets her maker.
It appears that she would make commentary after these patients died or before these patients ultimately ended up dying about how some of these patients just deserve to die. They didn't deserve to live anymore. And it seems like if she was making these comments so openly, so brazenly, that maybe you could have caught them sooner. That being said, you also have the person who is in charge of the Pennsylvania health system being appointed to the HHS secretary for the Biden administration. So maybe, just maybe, they were thinking about adding this woman as a deputy secretary based on her treatment of the elderly, because we all know that Pennsylvania ended up duplicating the Andrew Cuomo nursing home policy. However, the individual that we're talking about pulled their own mother out of a nursing home because obviously this was good enough for you, but not for her and her family.
Elizabeth Simmons Ozella and Matthew Simmons are the children of Irene Simmons, who Pressdee injected with a fatal level of insulin, despite the 78-year-old woman not being diabetic. Simmons was also under Pressdee's care at Sunnyview.
It needed to be done. My brother and I needed to come today. We've been looking forward to being able to say what we feel. We know it's probably falling on deaf ears on her side, but anybody who can do what she did isn't going to care about a few words of what we say.
So obviously, absolutely horrible what they did to this woman. I don't understand why the news media has to clarify that she didn't have diabetes and got this fatal level of insulin. Obviously, even if you do have diabetes, there are fatal levels of insulin, and when you have 17 people, this is not an issue of maybe making a mistake that ultimately ended up leading to the death of this woman. That being said, based on the New York Post article, we actually have 22 victims total. 17 have since passed away, but they range in age dramatically, and that's one of the things that I want to express to you guys. Now, the 22 overall victims ranged in age from 43 to 104. Coworkers often questioned Pressdee's conduct and said she frequently showed disdain for her patients and made comments that were derogatory about them. Now, her sentence, if you guys are curious, is between 380 and 760 years behind bars, and this is what resulted from the convictions that she recently had. And again, 17 total patients that she was related to the deaths, but I believe she was just convicted of these 3 counts of first-degree murder, and she had additional counts, 19, of attempted murder. And the reason for this, if you guys are curious, is essentially she did damage to these people and they ultimately ended up dying later, but it's not a one-to-one for sure that she was successful in her attempt to kill her, and this leads us to the people that actually survived that are significantly damaged by this woman's actions.
So she's still with us. She's just not quite the person she was prior to this.
Marissa Hiles is the niece of Betty Hutchinson, who survived Prestee's attempts to kill her with excessive insulin. She had a stroke, however, and is unable to feed herself and speak.
Yeah, honestly, that really bothers me. You have this woman elderly. She's in the care of Heather Pressdee. She didn't die, but because of the insulin, it resulted in her having a stroke. And then this woman who could eat on her own, who could actually, function to some degree, just needed the care of a nurse like Heather Pressdee was supposed to be, ends up not being able to feed herself and unfortunately ends up needing more round-the-clock care after you're put in a situation where you're in complete and utter shock due to the fact that she destroyed this woman's life. And how can you trust people in these care facilities? Now, I also want to point out that at the top end, we had a person who was 104 years old that was victimized by Heather Pressdee, and that really grates on me. For those of you who don't know, I have a grandmother that will be 102 years old this year. She is a lively, functioning person, no memory issues or anything like that. Truly somebody who has been blessed with a lengthy and fulfilling life. And the idea that you could take, and by the way, I don't know the state of this 104-year-old person, somebody who's lived that long and just attempt to kill them because you don't like that you have to care for them is disgusting in every possible way. It's shameful in every possible way. And I know she has hundreds of years on her sentence, but honestly, it seems like it's too good for this woman. She's an absolute monster, and more so than the fact that she killed all of these people, but she did it under the veneer of a position of trust, and that's what really grates on me. And I know a lot of you, based on how I covered these stories in the past, this is something that will bother you as well.
Patrick Carney, meanwhile, addressed the court on behalf of his brother-in-law, Jack Rogers. Rogers survived being shot down in a chopper in Vietnam. He got the Purple Heart, but he did not survive Heather Pressdee.
Justice, the only justice we want is it to happen to nobody else.
I mean, again, absolutely rough. Here we have somebody who's a war hero, Purple Heart recipient, like they said, survived being shot down in the jungle of Vietnam by the Viet Cong, but Heather Pressdee was too much. Her insulin dosage absolutely could not survive that. And now we have his family members here, and they're saying all the right things. Like, one of the things that I find incredibly comforting about humanity is when you see darkness like Heather Pressdee, you end up with family members that are like, we just don't want this to happen to anyone else. They say all these good positive things, and I just keep thinking, if these were my family members, if I had to show up to court because this woman decided that she was going to mega dose insulin because she didn't want to deal with them, that this woman might not make it out of the courtroom. There wouldn't be a reporter confronting her, asking her if she was evil. She would be facing some dire consequences that I don't even want to mention on YouTube because maybe, just maybe, they'll be interpreted in a really bad way. Look, the families, from what I've seen, are under no illusion that Heather Pressdee is sorry in any way, despite the fact that she muttered the words, and they are happy with the sentence, but obviously they would want to care for their relatives. They would want to know that they're around, be able to visit them. We're talking about grandmothers. Again, we're talking about brothers and sons. The victims range from 43 years old to 104 years old, and this woman just decided that it was her job not to quit when she didn't like where she worked, but to cut these people down, be one of these Black Widow-like figures, and become probably one of the most prolific serial killers in the history of the city of Pittsburgh. Again, I know it's technically 19 counts of attempted murder and 3 counts of full-on murder, but 17 of these people died, and you have circumstances like the woman who had a stroke who can barely feed herself, clearly and obviously not long for this world, very unlikely to recover at this stage of the game, and she happens to be not counted in the people that she killed, even though almost assuredly when that woman passes away, it will be the consequences of the actions of Pressdee.
Terms of the 41-year-old's plea deal include pleading guilty to at least 3 counts of murder, 19 counts of attempted homicide. Pressdee will be serving 3 consecutive life sentences, as well as 380 to 760 years behind bars.
Look, I got medical people in my family, in my close family. There are a number of nurses, so this isn't a knock randomly on nurses or anything like that. But these facilities really scare me. They horrify me. The idea that we send our old people over there and out to pasture and put them in the care of these people that we assume have good intent, that we assume care about them, really bothers me for when my relatives are going to get elderly. And honestly, I don't think I'm going to do it. Now, some of them, I don't know. Some of them they're going to end up in a facility. I'm not going to lie. You cross the line a little bit too much, but it will be because I don't like you. But for the ones that I like, that I actually want to keep around, I don't think I can do that. And I don't judge people who happen to have this as their only alternative. I understand that some of these elderly people need round the clock care, but the fact of the matter is, it just seems like these kind of stories tend to percolate here, and we can't really trust these people all the time to be always good. It seems kind of crazy to me that you go through the process of nursing school. Of all the jobs that you could choose, you would choose to work in an elderly care facility, and then you would have this level of disdain for the elderly. But then again, we're dealing with a serial killer here. Now, I know people on the Majority Report will probably say that she only killed these elderly people in order to feed her starving family or something like that. I don't really think that aligns right here. They might want to arrest poverty. Not trying to be too political about this, but it is important for us to examine the evil of man, the evil of human beings, the evil of this woman right here, and realize that this is not due to the fact that she was in desperate straits and this was the only thing that we could do. I know that's a hard concept for a lot of people to understand because certain crimes look like one-to-one economic desperation, because in your own context you think, I would only steal X or Y if I didn't have the money and I needed to do that. But in reality, the criminal mind is not like your mind. These people don't work the way that you do. This had no gain for her except for the fact that she didn't like some of these patients, according to some of the reporting, and she felt good about killing them. And again, these nursing homes, I hope they get the pantsuit off of them for allowing this to go on, for all these different various reports years later about how she would talk about how these patients didn't want to live, and then with all these suspicious deaths. But yeah, this is just my thoughts on this particular situation. Like I said, setting aside the political elements at the end of it, there's no real political element right here. It's just a serial killer, a very prolific serial killer, a woman serial killer, which is often quite rare, and that's what I wanted to share with you guys. Now I want to know what you guys think, so let me know down in the comments below. As usual, if you like these videos, then you can show them by leaving a like. You can subscribe for more content. You can follow me on all my social medias. Support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about just a monster, pure and simple. Till next time.